I cannot tell you how incorrect this is when designing a board game. Hey everyone, my name is J. Daniel Woodstock, owner of Woodstock Games, publisher of Dice Fights, and today we are going to be talking about the 3 do's and the 3 don'ts of making your own board game. As a board game designer that goes to many different events throughout the year, including farmers markets every week, I often get asked about how to make a board game. Many young designers are out there that are saying like, hey, I've been doing this. Most of the time it's people's parents that are coming to me, hey, my son or daughter, they have been working on this for a long time. How is the best way to get into it? How do they go from just a thought in your head to making a board game? And so I wanted to come up with a couple do's and don'ts of making your own board game. Let's start with the first and probably the most important do. What is your goal? Are you making this just to enjoy a nice new game with your friends? Are you making this so you can pitch to a publisher in hopes that they'll publish your game for you? Or are you making this so you could self-publish like me and be a completely insane person that way? Depending on your goals, that really changes the function and which direction that you go with that. In this video, we're going to focus on is if you're self-publishing your game, and kind of the things that I found was really important when I published my first game, Dice Fights. All right. So this brings us to our first don't. Do not be secretive about it. Lots of people think that they're going to need to trademark every idea and concept that they're going to have. They don't talk to anyone about it, so you're in a little echo chamber of what your game is. You have no outside advice coming in about your game. No one can get excited about your game. I can't tell you the amount of people that I've ran into that have said something like, I have this big idea that I've been working on for years, but I don't want to really discuss it just in case someone might steal my idea. Having been in board game forums and this and that, let me tell you this. One, your ideas aren't really worth anything. There's a lot of ideas out there. It's really the ability to follow through with your ideas that are worth a lot. Now, your game could be the most fantastic game in the world, but if you never tell anyone about it, it doesn't matter. So tell the world about it and document telling the world about it, because that's what's going to protect you in the long run. So now we're going to hop back to the second do in your game. Get your game on a table. Now, prototypes don't have to be fancy. They don't have to be really expensive, especially the first couple iterations. In fact, this right here was one of my very first prototypes that I ever made. This is a board for the game that we're actually planning on publishing here in January, Terraform, which is kind of a 2 to 4 player strategy game where you can manipulate the board to get where you want to go. Now this, as you can see, was an old piece of cardboard that had been painted on a bunch, and so I just went on, started drawing lines on it, and I ended up using old Magic the Gathering cards as the original pieces. I spent zero money on the very first prototype. I just used what was available for me, but I cannot tell you how invaluable it was to take it from this concept in my brain to an actual physical thing where things started making sense, problems started arising that I could then solve for. In fact, our game Dice Fights, this right here was our very first prototype of Dice Fights. Me and my brother got together, this is all we had, and we said, hey, I wonder if we could make a game that just involved this many dice. And it turned into an awesome 2-player dueling style engine builder. And it was incredible, but we would have never gotten to where we got without just grabbing something and starting to play. So this brings me to the second don't. Don't spend too much time conceptualizing your game. I think a lot of people really get stuck in analysis paralysis. They feel like they have to have every detail ironed out before they start playing the game. I cannot tell you how incorrect this is when designing a board game. Do not do this. Do not be stuck in your mind. Make it a physical thing that people can start enjoying and you can start enjoying. It's one of the most important don'ts. So this brings us to our third do. you really, and it just kind of goes on and on for what I've been saying. You need to get out of your comfort zone and get your game in front of people that you don't know personally. You can get invaluable feedback just from having a stranger play your game and getting strangers to play your game. If you're anything like myself, and I feel like a lot of board game players kind of are this way, you might feel a little anxious about getting in front of someone new and talking about your project. But I cannot tell you how important it is to get out there, get some fresh eyes on your game, and really just start play testing the crap out of it. In my opinion, you need to play test your game 50 to 100 times before you even think about publishing at all. Now, this brings us into our third don't. This is not a get rich quick thing. Lots of people think, oh, I'll just come up with this board game, I'll get it manufactured, and it'll just fly out of the shelves. It'll be the next Settlers Catan. I am going to be filthy rich after this. That is not the case. It just sadly isn't. There's a ton of time. If I kept track of all the time that I put into designing and promoting our games, Dice Fights and Terraform, I don't even really want to think about it, because if you put that down to an hourly wage, I'd be making negative money right now, not including just the cost of all the production and this and that. It can be a little intimidating, but just looking back to Dice Fights, we didn't get stuck in analysis paralysis. We got it on the board, we started playing it, and we kept playing it until we came up with something that was amazing, and then we just took the next step. We just got it manufactured and we started selling it. And you'd be amazing what just taking the next step and playing the game can really do for you. But alas, for Dice Fights, just to get it to a point where we can sell it, we were $6,000 in before that point. And I think you'll find that many publishers out there would think that $6,000 in is a steal. Many people are in thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just to get their game to the table, to the Kickstarter, to hopefully fund it. So this is why, yet again, going back to what are your goals for it? Are you planning on just having a game to enjoy? Well, don't put a lot of money into it. You can create a game that's so fun just by getting something as simple as this. This was $25 at your local game store. And just the joy of creating something that came out of your mind. One of my favorite comments that I get when I play test with strangers and people is they look at me and they say, "You made this? This came out of your head?" And they just can't even believe it. So hopefully this will help you guys start your journey into making your own board game. And hopefully you can share that with me sometime. If you did enjoy or liked any of this information, please remember to subscribe and like the page, for that is the best way to support this work that I do. And give us a shout out of your favorite game, or if any of these do's and don'ts you want me to get into more in depth, leave a comment below and ask me, because more ideas for content is always welcome. Have a good one.